Everyone in this world have mistakes or regrets. These two words have different definitions. Mistakes are actions or judgment that are misguided or wrong. Regrets are feelings of sadness, repentance, or disappointment over something that have happened or been done. With these definitions being said, it is logical to think that mistakes will lead to regrets. This is true. However, not every mistake will lead to regrets. There is one important factor that needs to be considered. This factor is that both regrets and mistakes will follow the rules of actions and consequences. Newton's third law states that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reactions. What goes around comes around. Mistakes and regrets are the decisions that we make for ourselves. Returning to my statement, not every mistake will lead to regret. Some mistakes will lead to lessons. These lessons will give them the resources they need to fix their mistakes and even change the future for the better. Now, what about the mistakes that will lead to regrets? These mistakes are difficult and even impossible to fix. The reason for this is that mistakes were performed too long and we cannot simply go back and fix them. A 25 years old individual who spent all their time and money going out to bars and clubs every time since 21 years old. Many of them will look back at their life and regrets not starting or building something great. With this being said, one of the most crucial regrets is misusing time at a younger age. Everybody knows that our age cannot come back and be subtracted, therefore we cannot go back in time. I have learned that our 20s should be the age of finding your purpose. The higher our age becomes, the higher the responsibilities we will need to obtain. The reason for this is wisdom. What is wisdom? Wisdom is good sense and judgment from other to self. This is important when finding a purpose in life. The reason is that judgment will create overthinking, which will be enhanced each of the time that have passed. What does this mean? This means that if the individual who have a negative experience for a long time without treatment, it will lead to depressions or envy. I think this is what regret is all about. People with these extremes emotions might not think about regrets in life. However, actions speak louder than words. I think these emotions are the results of unspoken regrets in life. Why is this the case? First and foremost, I categorize depression as a missed chance for freedom. Meanwhile, envy is a missed chance of power. We will soon look at each one separately and why these two extreme emotions matter so much when it comes to regrets in life. I believe everyone's path in life is either to gain freedom, power, or both. Changes will happen in life unexpectedly. Therefore, we must be ready for it. When we are ready for it, we are looking to the futures, but guess what? Changes are unpredictable. The future is unpredictable. We try to predict the futures, we are gambling. As a result, we will make mistakes. If we are not ready for the future will leave us behind with consequences that will change our life. I can name a few examples of this statement. Two main examples matter the most after organizations. These are the loss of loved one and the loss of self. The loss of loved one will be about separation, death, and loneliness. The loss of self will be about poor health, the loss of accomplishments, and loss of serviceability. With this example being said, we need to prepare for it. How do we prepare? First thing first, it is important to realize these two examples of loss before major consequences happen. A reason for this is because it will lead to regrets. As I mentioned before, changes are unpredictable and life is unfair. Sometimes these changes are not from our own mistakes, but rather from the natures of life. We cannot stop Mother Nature or the actions of gods if you choose to see it that way. One thing is for sure, life must go on, even if something terrible happened. This is why we need to have self-realizations. Everybody has emotions. It is what separates us from turning into a psychopath or a robot. Emotions are mostly just bursts of energies. They will come and go and we maintain them, right? We must first maintain our emotions if they are set back from our mistakes or environment. There are two ways to maintain our emotions. These two ways are from our loved one and self. For the help from our loved ones, the most crucial thing you must consider is to not be ignorant and have an open mind. We need two-way communications. This means that we must listen to them and they must listen to us. To find solutions, we must share the problems with our loved one. More minds are better than one mind due to suggestions and advice. Some suggestions and advice might be terrible, therefore it is our right to judge it afterward if we want to use it or not. This is why it's never a good thing to hold it on. Always let it go and never ignore it. Another way to let it go is the mindfulness of self. This is the self-maintainment of our emotions. Mindfulness is not about forcing ourselves to get rid of these strong emotions. It's about tuning in on our priorities. What do I mean by this? When we have these strong emotions like sadness or anger, we are not thinking straight. We are actually focusing on the problems and event in front of us. I understand that some of these events are tragic and horrible. Therefore, we need to take time to sort through these emotions. A death in the family will lead to sadness. If we need to take time healing by crying and coping, this is what emotions of sorrows is all about. The thing that is not okay is that we cannot continue with our everyday life because we keep thinking about passing and not moving on the consequences of the future. What about anger? We are only angry because of frustrations. This might sound obvious, however, it is a source of anger in the first place. Frustration is when nothing is going as planned. With this being said, to control anger, we must control our decisions and actions. In this world, there are expectations and reality. The expectations is that plan and visions will work 100% of the time. Reality is that when either the plan fell completely or part of the plan fell over time. The first thing we need to understand is that we need to get used to the reality of life. Unless we are confident and competence with our success rate, we need to be alert that anything will turn out wrong. How do we reach a high level of confidence and competence? We need to have patience. This means that if we know something will turn worse than before, we will always assume that we are never perfect. Being perfect is the expectation of life. The plan and visions that work 100% of the time. Being angry is the consequences of not realizing this. They want everything to go smoothly. However, I learned that from my experience that it never does. Like yin and yang, the two oppositions of this world, there are order and chaos. For us to maintain life, we need to have order. However, this world is naturally chaotic. There are too many chaotic events happening at once in our life. This is why we should not be frustrated about it. Have tough skin and prioritize the knowledge and information. And we should have emotions of fluctuations like anger. Simply know what we are angry about and lower our temper. We can do this by mindful breathing. After, we will solve the problems that get us angry in the first place. Face the consequences and solve it with a clear head minds. The reason is that functional conflict is how we have a stronger bond and compromisations. It's not the end of the world to make mistakes. However, it's always a sacrifice of time, money, and connections. Time and money are obvious, but what about connections? When it comes to building connections, it's about influence and impressions. Character traits will be given by others after the performance of influence and impressions. This is what judgment is all about. This is why we need to show that we are a good person. We don't have to be nice, however. The thing that matters the most are kindness, respect, caring, etc. When we make mistakes, the post judgments from others matters a lot to us. This is why we need to build good connections first. We need to show who we truly are so that they can forgive us and support us. This is what relationship is all about. This will go both ways. To give and to receive service. There is one interaction that can ruin relationship for a long time or even forever. This is about trust. When the mistakes are so bad that our relationship are broken, one character traits that we do not follow when we are making these mistakes is loyalty. Loyalty was defeated by pleasure and desire. This is why we have relationship affair and betrayal. The unloyal person is a terrible person. However, there's never a one-way interactions. What if the person is lacking something that they want? After a long time without satisfactions, the temptations one will be enhanced. This is why we need to communicate and compromise. If the request still isn't granted, or the individual still haven't changed their character after it had been granted, It's time to let them go. It's time to forgive and forget.